My mother never let me touch the family photo albums, and I never understood why. Whenever I asked, she would insist that they were old and warned that they might crumble if we tried to take them down. They were placed so high on the shelf that even standing on a chair, I could never reach them. Over the years, I had forgotten about them entirely, until last month, when I went to visit my mother during my time off work. She had been struggling with her health, and I liked to see her as often as I could, but this visit felt different. She seemed and emotionally weaker. When I asked what was wrong, she said I was imagining things, but I could feel a secret she wasn't telling me. A few days into my visit, I received a message from some old school friends asking to meet up. We met at the local pub that evening, sharing laughs and memories, but when I returned home, I noticed something that immediately drew my attention: the family photo album, lying on the coffee table in plain sight. My mother had fallen asleep on the couch. I knew she would be angry if she found out I looked at it, but I could not resist. I knelt down carefully and opened the front cover. At first, the album seemed normal, filled with ordinary pictures of my mother and her siblings, of my grandparents on holidays. Then I found it, a photograph that froze me in place. It was black and white, dated 1945. My grandfather, just a teenager, was holding a baby. At first, it seemed innocent, but the child's face, it was like nothing I had ever seen. Her body was that of a small infant, but her face was grotesquely old, wrinkled and sagging, with small black eyes and a full set of enormous, adult-like teeth. The photograph radiated something dark, almost alive, and I realized immediately why my mother had never wanted me to see the albums. I needed answers. The next morning, I visited my grandparents at their retirement home. I asked the staff for a private space, and they let us into a small, unused room. I tried to make casual conversation at first, easing into the topic, but when I finally mentioned the photograph, my grandfather's face hardened. He refused to answer and quickly changed the subject. Their reactions only fueled my curiosity, but I chose to leave without pressing further, feeling the weight of generations of secrets. Determined to understand, I decided to visit the old family house, abandoned since my grandparents moved into care. Driving there, I felt guilty, knowing that what I was about to do might betray both my mother and grandparents. The house stood largely intact. I pushed the front door, which gave way after a few strong knocks, and stepped inside. A wave of cold air hit me, carrying the smell of decay and dust. The house seemed frozen in time. The wallpaper was faded, the furniture sparse, the floors coated in a thin layer of grime. I explored the ground floor carefully. In a cupboard, I discovered a box filled with items that clearly belonged to a child: a doll, a string of beads, and a small book of fairy tales. I carefully placed the box in the trunk of my car before continuing upstairs. The bedrooms were empty except for an old bed frame and faded walls. At the end of the hallway, a narrow staircase led to the attic. The wood creaked beneath my weight, and the cold seemed to intensify as I climbed. When I reached the attic, a sudden sound froze me in place, a low, guttural moan emanating from the floorboards. Pressing my ear to the boards, I realized it was breathing, shallow, strained, almost human. My heart pounded as I searched the room, then retrieved a hatchet from my car, steeling myself for whatever lay beneath. I pried up the boards and peered into the crawl space. Inside, I saw a creature unlike anything I had ever imagined. Its flesh sagged in folds, its black eyes were hollow and empty, and its twisted nails curled like claws. Its mouth was filled with jagged, rotting teeth, and it moved in a way that seemed both human and animal. It stared at me, almost pleading. Despite the revulsion, I felt a pang of sympathy, a strange sense that it had been trapped for decades. I called the police, who arrived quickly and took control of the scene, demanding that I leave. I never received any updates about what happened next. Weeks later, I returned to my mother's house, but a young man answered the door, claiming he now lived there. Confused and desperate, I rushed to the retirement home, only to learn from the receptionist that my grandfather had been arrested 2 weeks earlier for the imprisonment and torture of his sister. I realized then that the photo, the abandoned house, the creature in the attic, all of it was connected, a horrifying secret hidden for generations, and that the darkness in my family's past had left a mark on me I could never forget.